Think and Grow Thin. That's the name of the book. Charles DAngelo will be my guest. All of that coming up on your New Year's Health and Fitness Show here on KMOX. Right now, though, Charles DAngelo, the name of his book is Think and Grow Thin. He's got quite the story, and he's in studio with me. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Monica. It's my honor to be here.
Well, I love to watch all of the transformations that have taken place from your inspiration, from your motivation. I know a lot of my coworkers over at Fox 2 have helped. You have helped them, and you have an amazing story. If people have ever seen you, you come walking in, look like this great fitness buff model.
Well, thank you.
But that wasn't you. Very good looking man. But that wasn't the case with you growing up, right?
No, and I think that's one thing that really distinguishes and separates my book from everything else that's out there, is that I've been there. Growing up as a young person, I was morbidly obese. I was bullied. I was made fun of. I was ostracized. I felt totally isolated from others, and it was all due to my own behaviors. It's a vicious cycle, one in which you start to use negative, unhealthy things, in my case, unhealthy foods, to cope with pain. That unhealthy coping mechanism makes you even more different because you become overweight. You aren't able to fit into the normal clothes most people are. You lose your self-esteem. You lose your self-confidence. The next thing you know, you are withdrawing, which then makes other people interpret that as you're rejecting them, which makes it even more difficult to really put yourself out there and to experience life as fully as you deserve to.
We're talking, you said morbidly obese, and I want that to really hit home with people. Talk about how much you weighed as a fourth grader.
When I was in fourth grade, I'd already tipped the scales at over 200 pounds. I couldn't buy the school uniforms that the other kids could at Catholic Supply or whatever. I had to go to a special tailor and get my pants made, which actually were a men's size pant at that point. So I always felt different. And when you feel different, again, you tend to pull back. And when you pull back, children, just being kids, they interpret that the opposite way. When a child withdraws, the other kids don't look at it as, oh, that kid doesn't feel good about himself. They look at it as, he's rejecting us.
Right.
And then they feel they need to defend themselves. So I was bullied. I was made fun of. And again, my behaviors only elicited more of that because I started to look different than all the other kids. I was becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. So I really empathize. I really can understand when a person comes to see me and they've struggled with this all of their lives. I've been there. I get it. You're not listening to advice from someone that's been Mr. Fitness all of his life. It's a guy that by the time he was 17 weighed 360 pounds. Getting up a flight of just 4 stairs was difficult. I would wake up in the middle of the evening, at the middle of the night, 2:30, 3 in the morning, and I would feel that my nose was running. And I would wipe it with my finger, and in the morning wake up and look at my hand, and there was dried brown blood all over my fingers because I had nosebleeds throughout the night. I probably had a hypertension.
Sure.
I was on the borderline of having diabetes.
I'm surprised you didn't.
I may have. A lot of this leads to denial. I didn't even want to get on the scale. In fact, I only came to recognize how much I weighed after looking at a doctor's file years after losing the weight, because I didn't even want to know what that scale read. I was in complete denial of the reality of my life.
Again, just tuning in, it's Charles DAngelo, Think and Grow Thin, the revolutionary diet and weight loss system that will change your life. I like this. In 88 days. Why do you pick that? Because I know so many people do like 12-week programs, 90 days.
90 days, exactly. We picked that, me and the publisher picked that to kind of take a jab at those programs. In fact, because the real point is that change happens the moment you make a commitment, the moment that you make a decision to really transform your mindset. What distinguishes the book from everything else that's coming out this year is that I think that there's no lack of what's healthy to eat, or here's a new diet, or here's an exercise program or a DVD you can do. I don't think what to do is necessarily missing. You can find all sorts of diets. Go to Barnes & Noble, go to the bookstore, and you can find diet after diet after diet. Go online, go to Amazon, go to any video program, YouTube, and you can find all sorts of exercises to do. Those things aren't missing. I look at this as kind of a 3-legged stool. You have one leg being the diet, which in my book I say exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it, what you need to eat, how much, down to the letter. So step by step, here's what you need to do. I do that for the exercise too. So those 2 legs are secured. But what everything else is missing is that third piece. And I think it's the glue that holds it all together. That is the mindset. How, not what. There's no lack of what out there. But how do you come to food in a way that you learn how to totally disconnect from the emotion so that food no longer controls you, but rather you're in control of it? And how do you get so excited and so passionate about exercise that you actually look forward to it? That you actually, if you hire a trainer, you're a trainer. If you are going to a trainer, you're actually excited about your visit and not dreading it, right? So how do you get that mind piece in place? How do you condition yourself so that you actually associate pleasure with these things? In my book, Think and Grow Thin, my entire program, step by step, is outlined in how to get to that place where you actually like the food you're eating, you actually like the structure, you like the sense of control you have, and for the first time in your life, you've got all three pieces in place.
All right, Charles, so here is the main thing that everybody wants to know as they make these New Year's resolutions, because today's the day. It's the Happy New Year, and I'm going to make a change, and this is going to stick for life, even though in the past they've done the cycle of breaking it after about 3 or 4 weeks.
Sure.
We all see it as trainers. How do they make the choice? How do they keep the mind going on a daily basis when so many things will be thrown in their path?
Excellent. That is at the crux of my message and at the core of my book. The way that I suggest a person does it is outline exactly what you're going to be eating ahead of time and what you're going to be doing with the exercise ahead of time. Make the choices beforehand. It takes very little time to do so. In my book, you'll see there's weekly plans, weeks 1 and 2, 3 and 4, all the way through 12-week program essentially. And the choices are there. You circle the choice you're going to keep with, and that's what you do for 14 days. And then the critics will say, well, oh my gosh, that's so boring. No, it's easy, because for the first time in your life, you don't have to think about it. For the first time in your life, you know what you're doing ahead of time. And what everyone that does the program says is that it actually anchors them to certainty. So many people eat out of the need to get certainty. When I was overweight, I knew that when I ate that little pack of Little Debbie's treats, it was going to make me feel good. I was looking for certainty in the wrong places. With my program in the book, Think and Grow Thin, I outline a very specific food program, a very specific exercise program, so all the thinking's taken out of it. No longer do you have to count points. No longer do you have to count calories. No longer do you have to be tracking everything. Now, if you like to do that, if you like to journal, great, but guess what? You're doing the same thing every day.
Right.
So the thought process is removed. Again, it's learning how to disconnect from food and not needing to rely on food as a crutch for emotional support, but rather you use food simply to fuel the body, to fuel the mind, so that you can live the quality of life that you deserve to live.
So I know from talking with just a few of the people that you've helped that I work with, kind of some of the structure that they went through. As you had just said, we can walk into any bookstore, we can talk with any author or trainer that's done
and
this
get
before.
Every diet or any exercise program,
and people
right?
have tried them, and they've yo-yo, and it doesn't work, and they gain more back.
Because they look at it as something external to themselves.
Or
rather
they look
than
at it as temporary?
Or they look at it as something they're doing to get somewhere, rather than who they are. A big piece of this is owning the identity of health. Okay. That is, you look at yourself as fit and healthy. When I was 360 pounds, I had to make the connection in my head that I was a fit, energetic, gifted young man.
You saw that. You visualized that.
Not only did I visualize it, I knew it. Okay. God's led me a lot in my life. And I realized he really blessed me with a lot of unique talents and gifts and an ability to communicate. And I realized that my weight was a serious hindrance to contributing to other people's lives. When you realize that your behavior is not your identity, it's simply a way of coping. People sometimes identify themselves as being fat people, and then their belief about themselves reinforces a negative behavior because they think they're fat. They think, oh, well, that's just the way I am because my family's overweight or because I've always been this way. Guess what? My father's side of the family was overweight. My mother's side struggled with addiction and alcoholism. So I could have all the excuses. I could be the king of excuses if I wanted to be. The key is owning yourself, owning your identity, being authentic, loving yourself enough to make time to be healthy, and putting aside excuses, putting aside reasons to say, well, I really can't commit to this, or I'll do this until I get to where I want to be, and then I'll go back to who I really am, which is undisciplined, not focused, et cetera, et cetera. You are disciplined. I'm sure you're successful in many facets of your life. You're just not applying those principles to this facet of your life, this context, and once you do, you'll experience the same remarkable success.
All right, we've just got a couple minutes left. It's Think and Grow Thin. There's many things that I pulled out of this, but you're just going to have to get the book for yourselves. You talk about how to design your destiny. You say to walk around like a rock star. Absolutely.
I was very, very fortunate. President Clinton has a lot of interest in this childhood obesity epidemic that our nation's now confronting.
Absolutely.
And I had the unique honor and privilege of sharing my story with him. He knows several people that I've helped and coached. He's witnessed their changes. He's given a nice endorsement on the front cover of the book. And that whole chapter in the book, that whole piece in the book, I really wrote around him because when he walks in a room, he owns the room. Why? Because he has a lot of confidence in himself. Many people say, well, if I was president of the United States, well, I'd have confidence too. But they've got it backwards. He became president much in part because of the belief he had in himself to be able to contribute and make this nation the best it could possibly be with his unique skill set and gifts. When you understand the gifts that you have and you stop allowing your behaviors to hinder your ability to contribute, you're then able to really experience life the way that you were meant to. So walk around with the confidence knowing that anything you put your mind to, you can achieve if you'll just do the work. It's not that difficult. Here's what you need to do with food. Here's what you need to do with exercise. But again, you have to work on conditioning your mind, because if you only know what to do, and you don't know why you're doing it, you don't get to the reasons of why you need to be doing this, it's going to be a short-lived success.
Mm-hmm. You have a great plan in here from an eating aspect, cardio aspect, weight training, or
even resistance training.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put that in there too, so that folks that want to work out with a trainer or that want to try to do it on their own a little bit. There's
You've
a
got
lot
pictures in there so that they know what to do, proper alignment, etc.
Much
your pictures.
Yes, the publisher did ask me to do a shirtless workout in the book, which was an experience, I'll say. And it was quite exciting. But if that serves to inspire people, I'm all about it. Because for a person to see me at the morbidly obese state that I was in, and notice the words I'm using, state,
right,
not who I was. Mm-hmm. It was a state I was in because of my behaviors. Mm-hmm. And because it was simply a state, you can change it. Don't allow your behaviors to define you. Make the decision to control your destiny by deciding what you're going to do, deciding what you're going to eat, deciding what you're going to do with your exercise, and holding yourself accountable, being consistent. Consistency is the key.
All right, and there's also great recipes in there that you can find.
Absolutely.
Think and Grow Thin. I'm going to wrap up 2 things I'm going to ask you very quickly. If they were to eliminate one thing in the way they're eating, it is?
I would say eliminate all caloric beverages.
Okay.
That's a really simple thing people can do. A lot of simple sugars are found in sodas, of course, are found in juices. So by eliminating that and going to water or teas, or at worst, if they still have kind of a identification with soft drinks, using diet soda rather than regular soda initially would be preferred.
And cardio choice.
I would say treadmill or walking outside. And if you have joint problems, simply do a recumbent bike or something that's not going to be so difficult. But you don't have to go and buy all sorts of fancy equipment. You can make a decision simply to get up, walk around, walk the neighborhood. I grew up in an impoverished environment where a gym wasn't readily available. Mm-hmm. None of my family members had ever joined a gym. I was very, very scared to walk through the doors of a gym. So walking from my steps at the house down to the street corner and back was a great way to get started. You've got to start taking action today. Don't put it off any longer. Be the best that you can be.
All right, today, you hear that? That is the word of the day. It's Happy New Year. It is happy introduction to finally, first and foremost, you taking back your life. Thank you so much. Congratulations on everything you've done and everything I know you're going to be doing.
Thank you so much, Monica. It's been my privilege.
It is Think and Grow Thin, the revolutionary diet and weight loss system that will change your life in 88 days. Again, look for it in stores and all your bookstores, etc. We have one more